Alright, so in this video I want to talk about monsters that don't have disaster levels, or just unknown disaster levels. Actually, one of them literally has disaster level unknown, and I'm sure most of you know who that is, and we'll talk about him later, but I mainly just want to go over the monsters who just, unfortunately, are never given a disaster level. Now, most of the time, when we don't see a disaster level on a monster or something like that, it's revealed later on in like a data book, or one or Murata will reveal it or clarify it in social media or like in an interview or something like that, which is the case with most of the monsters from season 1. Like, believe it or not, most of the big heavy hitters are usually given disaster levels like through the data book or like through information in an interview or something like that, such as the case with like Vaccine Man, Beefcake, or even the Dark Matter Thieves. But these monsters, unfortunately, were never given a disaster level or clarified or anything like that. So I want to go over them and then basically give them a disaster level myself, which may or may not be accurate. You always got to take a grain of salt with what I'm saying in these videos, guys. But also, there's like a lot of monsters that haven't been given disaster levels, and I'm only going to go over a select few in this video. So let's get into it. So first, let's talk about Choze, or more specifically, Monster Choze. So this guy gets requested to be talked about a lot on the channel, and that's mainly because of his unknown disaster level, and honestly, like, ambiguous level of strength. Now, some people rate this guy to be, like, above Demon, and I really don't think he's there, not even really close to that level. So his main feat of power is his fight against Suiryu. So in order to, like, accurately figure out how powerful this guy is, we first must determine how powerful Suiryu is. So I haven't really made, like, a standalone video for Suiryu yet, and I will get around to doing that, but for now, I think Suiryu is like high demon, could be above demon as well, but not quite dragon. Maybe fringe dragon. He's in that zone of power for sure. And given that he didn't really push Suiryu that much. Now, the manga really does Choze way more justice than the anime does. Like, the anime, it doesn't really seem like that too competitive of a fight. And the manga, it just pushes him a little bit further. But honestly, like, I think Suiryu kind of like mid-diffs, maybe even like low diffs this guy. Because he gets like a clean point of where he's able to like stab Suiryu in the chest, and he's not even able to pierce his skin. His speed is pretty good. I mean, he's so fast that they're like, you know, moving Dragon Ball Z-esque in their speed. But aside from that, Suiryu just takes care of this guy really no problem. Now, one of his redeeming factors is that both Goukanki and Suiryu say that he's kind of powerful. Like, Goukanki says, not too bad, and then Suiryu kind of says the same thing. But aside from that, he's just taken out with not really that much difficulty. So I'm assuming that this guy is like a mid-demon. I don't even think he's probably a high demon. I think a high demon would really push Suiryu way further than this. Now, he does have that energy ability, which is pretty impressive, but still, it's like, I'm thinking this guy's like a mid-demon. Now, that might be controversial, but I mean, just take a look at the fight for yourself. It's really not that competitive. So, since we're still on the martial arts tournament, let's just take a look at the other monsterized guys real quick. So, we have Volten, Hamukichi, and Benpatsu. These guys are easily taken out by Suiryu, like one-shotted, and then Volten is like slammed on by Benpatsu's body. I don't think these guys are any higher than Tiger. They're pretty much like mid, maybe high Tigers at that, somewhere around there. They're not that powerful, but I just wanted to classify them since they are also unknown disaster levels. So next up we have Goukanki, and this guy is from the bonus chapter Tornado's Day Off. So he claims that he's a rock formation that was buried in magma and stored up energy for 1,000 years and eventually gained consciousness. So I guess that's another case of like spontaneous monsterification. This guy could be similar to the evil natural water, but just has more of like a self-aware intelligence, I guess. But we don't get a disaster level on this guy as per the video, but he's pretty darn big. Like, he's like towering over this town of people. And he's like splitting like what looks to be like a mountain or something, close to the size of like this mountain-sized rock face thing. So that's pretty much it. That's like his only feat. But I'm assuming that this guy's might be like a dragon. Maybe like a low dragon or something. Now, of course, size does not automatically mean that you're going to be a dragon. We saw with like other huge monsters, like 100 Eyes Octopus, that he was just a demon, and I think that was pretty accurate for him, like high demon. But this guy seems to be just as big, if not bigger than 100 Eyes Octopus, but maybe more strength than him. I'm just going to take a guess that, I mean, at the minimum, I think this guy's like a high demon for sure. I mean, only a high demon would be able to, at the minimum, split like a huge rock face like that, and that size of a monster. But, I don't know. He could be a dragon, could be a high demon. I mean, his durability or just overall just effort of fighting back is almost non-existent because Tatsumaki just like tornadoes this guy instantly and like blenders him, more or less. But also, you know, she could blender dragons as well because we saw when she went against Giro, there was no issues there as well. So next up, let's talk about this super custom YO649Z Mark II guy. So yeah, mainly just for the meme of it. And surprisingly, this guy was like requested a few times on the channel. There's actually one guy who would always comment on my videos, ask me to talk about this guy. Shout out to that guy. I forget your name, I'm sorry, but if I see you in the comments, I'll pin you. But this guy, I guess, is like a tiger. Just taking a guess. I mean, we don't see him really do anything, and he is anime exclusive. He kind of just shows up for that inner monologue that Saitama has at the end of episode 1. But we see him like tearing apart a car, so that's kind of good strength. Maybe a wolf could do that, maybe not, but hey, maybe this guy's like above wolf. Maybe we should add him to that tier, but if I was just betting, I'd say he's maybe like low tiger, mid tiger, somewhere around there. So next up, I just want to talk about this random monster that was created by Murata. It's not even in the story, it's kind of just on one of the cover pages, and I think Murata just mainly posted this on Twitter. So it's called the Autumn Phantom Red Golden Ring Dragonfly. And we only know that name because Murata told us. But he's just, you know, he's interesting. He has a really cool design. He's friggin' huge. And oddly enough, on his face, he has like a mini face. So he's kind of like Elder Centipede, also in the fact that they're both insect monsters. So maybe he's like kind of old and was originally a monster the same way that Elder Centipede is inclined to be. But I guess he's just like a demon or something. Like, we're going back to the whole Goukanki and 100 Eyes Octopus thing. Like, just based off of his size, I think he's just a demon alone. And he's lifting up that truck and about to eat it no problem. So yeah, maybe a demon, something like that. I don't think he's a dragon. That would be a little too generous. So now let's talk about the actual official disaster level unknown monster, and that is Evil Eye. So I've talked about this guy a few times in multiple videos, but in this one, I want to talk about him more in depth. So this guy's disaster level is unknown because he is one of the very few monsters that was actually created by Murata. So I suppose that he just wanted to leave his power ambiguous because he's like an original monster and everything. But Murata goes more in depth and says that his power is multi-building level. And that his only purpose is to show how strong Tatsumaki is. So he's just a jobber for Tatsumaki. But multi-building level, man, I don't like terms like that because it just causes like a whole bunch more just controversial debates and everything, especially like in the real pedantic power scalers out there. I always guess that this guy was like above demon because his power is pretty impressive. And also he's an Esper. He's had those eyes implanted in him to amplify his power. And given his feats that we see in chapter 94, that seems to be more than just what a typical demon is capable of, like even more so like a high demon. So I always assumed that he was like in that above demon territory, and considering that his disaster level is unknown, I think putting him in that above tier is pretty fitting. So next, let's talk about Haragiri. This is another guy I've talked about in another video, but I feel like we should just throw him in here as well. So this guy I assume to be like above demon as well because he was originally a part of the Council of Swordsmen, and those guys are all like S-class level, or at least it's kind of implied that they are. So that's baseline demon right there. And he says even before he turned into a monster, he was able to draw his sword faster than the speed of sound, so that's obviously amplified his power. But given how easily Atomic Samurai takes this guy out, I don't think he's a dragon. So, I mean, but he seems to be a little too powerful for, like, a standard demon. Maybe even more so, like, than a high demon, maybe. And then lastly, let's just touch on this Supan guy. So, I think the, like, Hero Association, like, specifically asks My Mask to go after this guy. And based off of his aesthetics, he just looks like he's a demon. Just take it a guess, of course, you know, because why would they just ask somebody like a My Mask to go after, like, a tiger or something like that? Now, they also wanted him to bring him back alive, so that may be added to the difficulty and why they thought a My Mask was applicable for this type of job. But Still, maybe he's like a low demon or something like that. Like I said, aesthetically he looks like that. I mean, take that for what you will. You can look at a whole bunch of monsters and say what they look like, but I don't know, I'm just getting like a low demon type of vibe from this guy. If anything, he's like maybe above Tiger or something, I don't know. But that's pretty much it for the video today, guys. Let me know what you thought about this one. Where do you put these unknown disaster level guys? And if there was any that I missed in this video, let me know who you want me to talk about in the future. And if you liked it, please give it a like. I also have a Patreon. It gives you access to a weekly Q&A video that I do. And if you haven't already, please subscribe as well. Have a fantastic day, and I'll see you next one.